Alrighty, so today we're looking at a lesson called the Stirling Engine. So essentially we're going to be going through the scientific method with a brand new phenomenon, one that we haven't looked at before. So I'm going to start off, before showing you the phenomenon, I'm starting off by going through the slides with you and going through a hypothetical situation of how you will fill out these slides on your own. Okay, so you'll start off with describing the phenomenon, just like you had before, and then developing a question about the phenomenon, okay, and a hypothesis, which, if you remember, is an educated answer to that question. Then you're going to design an experiment. The key with this experiment is that you are not going to be performing this experiment. It's hypothetical. Okay, so we need to consider, okay, what would I do for this experiment? And then, once I know what I would do for the experiment, what would be some potential outcomes? We want to try and look forward and say, okay, what would I consider a positive outcome, meaning that it supports my hypothesis? What would I consider a negative outcome, meaning it doesn't? And then I would write down my conclusions. What would a positive outcome mean? What would a negative outcome mean? Okay, and then as a scientist, what methods could you use to communicate your results? We're going through the scientific method with a new phenomenon. So let's consider a hypothetical phenomenon. Let's say we're going to mix baking soda and vinegar. Okay, you've probably done that before, and you might be familiar with what happens, and so this might be easy for us to theorize or to visualize for our positive outcome, but it doesn't really work well for our negative outcome. So maybe you've also seen like Mentos and Diet Coke. Well, what if we mixed baking soda and Diet Coke? Okay, what would happen then? Let's say that's our potential experiment here. Okay, so we're gonna mix baking soda. I don't know if this is what I had just barely said. I might, but we're gonna mix baking soda and Coke. Okay, so we mix them. That's our experiment. We want to know, will it foam like baking soda and vinegar do, or like Coke and Mentos? Okay, hypothesis. Maybe I think yes, it will foam. Okay, then my experiment. I'm going to mix, let's say, 1 cup Coke with 1 tablespoon baking soda. Now, positive outcome. Positive outcome. This is my results that support my hypothesis. So, foam is made. Okay, negative outcome, no foam. Okay, so in conclusion, what did my positive outcome mean? That baking soda and Coke react to each other. Okay, and my negative outcome, no reaction occurred. Okay, and then I could communicate that by publishing my findings. If I was a scientist, that's probably what I would try and do, is publish my findings. Okay, so next we're going to show you your phenomenon for today, and you'll fill out these slides. You shouldn't have filled out these slides with what I just barely gave you. You'll fill out the slides based off of the phenomenon you'll see next. All right, so here's our phenomenon for today. What I have right here is a glass with hot water in it. Okay, it's not quite boiling. There's not really steam coming off of it. And then I have this device right here. Okay, you can kind of see it. Now I'm going to place this on here, and we'll give it some time to see what it begins to do. Now this device, what it actually does is this wheel will move back and forth and spin. You can see this movement here. There's like a plunger there. If we zoom in here, you can see there on the sides through it where there's this device that's moving up and down. Okay? Okay, and what we find is that our engine, or our device here, is considered an engine because it rotates and has a piston that's going up and down. It begins to function all on its own. Okay, so this is our phenomenon. We want to describe this, ask the question why this is occurring, what's causing this engine to rotate, as well as understand, or as well as develop a hypothesis, a potential experiment, and then potential outcomes for that experiment as well. Okay?